As an 8-figure Amazon seller, here are 2 numbers I track to improve my margins and to help me make a lot more money. So when I look at the expenses of an FBA business, I like to break it down into 3 categories: inventory cost, shipping cost, and then literally everything else lumped together into a category called overhead cost. Using this setup, I can look at any expense and put it into one of these 3 buckets, so it makes for pretty easy accounting. But more importantly, this system lets me calculate 2 critical KPIs: my overhead cost per unit and my shipping cost per pound. These 2 numbers, when you know them, will give you ultimate clarity on every single product you sell, and they'll turn you into an absolute pro when doing product research. Let's start with my overhead cost per unit. When I know what this number is, I can look at any item and know exactly how much I need to break even on it and turn a profit. And if you don't know this number, you're pretty much flying blind. A lot of sellers are just gonna guess here and use an arbitrary number. I know a lot of people say something like, oh, I'll just buy things that make a $2 minimum profit. But what if your real overhead is really $3? You could be losing money on products and not even realizing it. Then there is my shipping cost per pound. Knowing what this number is exactly lets me look at any item and know exactly what it is going to cost me to ship this item to Amazon. And the reason why that is so important is obviously the items we sell, they come in all different shapes and sizes, and we pay to ship them by the pound. So you have to know what that pound is going to cost you. Let's say, for example, that your shipping cost is 40 cents a pound. If you're shipping like a $15 or a 15-pound item, that's gonna cost $6 in shipping alone per unit. So this definitely needs to be factored into every single buying decision. And the truth is, most sellers don't do that math. You may see a $5 profit and think you're winning, but in reality, maybe you're not. And then when you compare a 15-pound product to something small, like a 5-ounce moisturizer, for example, at that same 40 cents a pound, that's gonna cost you like 10, 12 cents to ship. So that's a totally different equation that you have to do when looking at these different products. And knowing what your shipping cost per pound is really gonna change the way that you do product research. Now, here's where the magic happens. When you know both of these numbers together, you can look at any item in the world and know instantly what you really make on it, what the costs are, is it really a good purchase, and then you'll stop making decisions based on guesses and you'll start making them based on real data. You'll also start finding a lot more products that work, and at the same time, you'll have the data to start ditching the products that don't. Now, let me show you how it is that I calculate this, how I track this. I'm gonna put up on the screen a Google Sheet that I use in my business. If you want a copy of the Google Doc of the Google Sheet, just click the link below. I'll put it below this video. I'll share it with you. But basically, to calculate overhead cost per unit, this is simply all of your non-shipping expenses divided by how many units you are shipping out for the month. So what I want you to do is take a look at your business bank account and add up literally every single expense for the last month that is not shipping charges or inventory charges. Rent, payroll, supplies, software subscriptions, bonuses, pizza parties, literally everything except for your shipping and your inventory. Then take that number, divide it by how many units you shipped out for that month, and that is going to give you your overhead cost per unit. Now, obviously, monthly expenses, they're gonna fluctuate, so I built this sheet to also give you a 6-month rolling average, so now you can track this data and have a super accurate cost per unit going forward. Once you know what your number is, now you can work on optimizing it and getting it lower. So for example, if you know that your number is $2 per unit, you have to make at least a $2 profit just to cover it, just to break even. And you also know that if you can get that number down to $1, not only are you gonna make a lot more money, but you'll also be able to bring on lots of new items that maybe don't work at $2, but now work pretty well at $1. So that's overhead cost per unit. Enter into the sheet your total expenses, how many units you shipped out for the month, and the sheet is going to do the rest. Now, to calculate shipping cost per pound, all you have to do is every time you make a shipment, just enter what the shipment costs and how much it weighed, and the sheet's going to do the rest, right? So it's going to tell you how much that shipment costs per pound, per unit, but more importantly, it's also going to track a rolling average so that any point in time you can look at it and know exactly what it costs you to ship products to Amazon. And then, just like before, once you know what your number is, now you can start improving it. Another example, if your shipping cost is 30 cents a pound, if you can somehow get that number down to 20 cents a pound, it may not seem like a lot. Over the course of the year, with all the shipments you make, that's big money in your pocket. So now that you know these two numbers, let's talk about improving them. There is a very common saying in this business, I'm sure almost everyone watching has heard this, called feed the beast. And that saying basically implies Amazon is the beast and you must always keep feeding it by sending in more and more items. And while that's true in lots of respects, I want you to make the mindset change that it is not Amazon that is the beast, but rather your own business that is the beast. That is the real beast that you must feed if you want your business to get stronger. And the way that you are going to do that is, as an Amazon seller, you must always, in perpetuity, focus on improving these two metrics. As long as you're in business, you want to track these numbers, you want to attack these numbers, and you want to keep trying to get them lower and lower, because that's going to help you make more money, find more products, and just have an overall better business. Having said that, what are a few different things we can do to improve, first, our overhead per unit? So this one comes down to two things. One, lowering your expenses. Two, increasing your production. So say, for example, your expenses are 10 grand a month. Say, for easy math, you're shipping out 10,000 units per month. That means your overhead cost is $1 a unit, right? Now, if you can somehow get your expenses down, then your per unit cost goes down. On the flip side, if you can't get your expenses down a lot, but you can somehow get more efficient and crank out, say, instead of 10, 12,000 units per month, then your overhead cost is gonna go down as well. So you always have to be thinking, how can I save more loot? What can I cut? What can I buy in bulk? What can I do more efficiently to bring my costs down? And how can I increase my production at the same time? Those are the two things you need to be focusing on for that. So for cost savings, few simple things you can do. Maybe you buy supplies in bulk. Maybe software subscriptions, you save money with annual plans. Maybe you do something to get some of your other monthly expenses lowered. It's really up to you guys to figure out that part. But the big driver on this one is increasing your production. The more units that you're going to be able to pump out on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, that is going to be the number one way to get this number down. So just a few tips I'll share, some of the stuff that I do. Number one, motivate your team to produce more. We have like a weekly contest in our warehouse where the worker who preps the most units gets a $100 bonus. That obviously kind of lights a fire under their ass. Number two, using 2D Workflow, we display like a leaderboard in our warehouse where the entire staff can see how many units each of them prep. Also, like how many units in general were prepped today versus yesterday, this week versus last week. And I promise you guys, this one hack, just displaying the production numbers out in the warehouse, this will get you a minimum of a 10% increase in production. It was kind of nuts to see, but when your staff sees their numbers on the big screen, it just drives them to produce more. And number three, speaking of 2D Workflow, any tools to improve productivity, speed up production, anything that makes better systems is gonna have a big impact here. A lot of people don't realize that's the reason why I built 2D Workflow. If you have a tool that lets you go from, prep 13,000 units instead of 10,000 units, that's gonna be huge. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about shipping cost per pound and some of the things we can do to improve that. Number one thing to remember here is bigger shipments typically equal cheaper cost. You always wanna try to consolidate shipments and make them bigger. If you're watching this and you're doing SPD shipments, shipments, your goal should be to get to LTL pallet shipments. If you're already doing LTL, your goal should be to get to full truckload shipments. And then another thing, you want to always compare all the different placement options and shipping charges when you make a shipment, so that you always know when you're shipping something to Amazon, you're doing it the cheapest way that it is possible to do it. And sometimes that might mean paying a placement fee and you're shipping to one location. Sometimes that's paying no placement fees and shipping to 5 locations. But always compare. And again, shout out to 2D Workflow here for always letting me compare and find the cheapest option for my shipments. By the way, just speaking of 2D Workflow, we are working on 2 huge new features that are going to save you an insane amount of money on both placement fees and on your actual shipping charges. So next month, you'll be able to save about maybe 20-25% on shipping charges, about 50% on placement fees, and both of those things are obviously going to have a huge impact on these numbers, so be sure to look for that when it launches next month. Another thing you can do is, for all my guys who are doing non-partnered shipments, call your carrier every few months and just try to renegotiate better rates. These are the kind of things that we need to stay focused on in 2025 and beyond if we really want to make the most out of this business. And I promise you, the sellers who track and improve these 2 numbers consistently are going to have way more success than the guys who are just winging it. So with that said, I'd love it if you would drop a comment below and share any additional tips that you might have for lowering costs, for boosting production. I'm sure the community would love to hear those. Again, if you want my cost tracker sheet, I'm gonna put it in a link below this video. If you wanna try 2D Workflow so that you can make smarter shipping decisions and improve your production and save money and have cheaper shipping, head over to 2dworkflow.com and grab a free trial. And lastly, this is my first video back in a while. I've been quietly building some super cool shit that I am very excited to share with you guys real soon. But in the meantime, if you like this video, if you got some value from it, please feel free to let me know in the comments, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let me know if you want to see me keep making more videos like this one. Till next time, friends, peace.